God, I've been trying to record this like 4 times. I just never know how to start out a video. I'm already stuttering. This is how we're gonna do this. Alright, that's great. Hi. I wanted to make a random video because I am fucking bored. It's like 9 p.m. and I just thought, well, this is a video topic I wanted to make, so I figured why not? It's also my first video actually doing a video of me since coming out, so that's always kind of fun. I want to have a little story time because, yeah, again, it's just a story I've never told before, but it's, some people know it, some people don't. Back in 2024, I got to help out one of my favorite LP'ers, Chuggaaconroy. And I want to go over kind of how it went because some people don't know what happens behind the scenes. I should mention, like, I'm not close friends with Chugga. I have not told him I was going to do this video, and I'm just going to go based off my experience. Some people might have other experiences with it, but this is kind of how my experience went through, just based in conversation. And again, people during other LPs that he runs, that he gets, like, information from, they might have contributed a little bit more than I did. But I got to contribute a little bit, and it was quite the adrenaline rush when it happened. So I guess I'll start with when this kind of all started. So back October 21st, 2024, I got contacted by one of, well, I didn't know this was a friend of his, but I learned afterwards it was. But I got contacted through the Mario and Luigi server, or the speedrunning server that is, and they were asking like a bunch of interesting information about the game, like any sort of either tricks or interesting helpful like gear, or just any information really about the game that might become like really interesting. And I didn't know like why, but I figured, you know, it's not gonna hurt to answer, and I did. And they said, I asked them, I said, hey, what are you gonna do with all this information? And they said they were collecting it for a friend. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I mean, then I responded with them as, like I said, hey, if you want me to, like, help out with the, or want me to just give you the information directly to your friend, I'm more than willing to do that. And then he said, okay, yeah, let me go ask them. And they said, okay, yeah, they wanted to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's great. So I go into my DMs, and I'm just waiting around to see what's gonna happen. And I get a friend request, and I see it's Chuggaaconroy, and I immediately go, what the fuck? Because I've watched Chuggaaconroy for a long time. Not as long as some people. Like, I bet there's people who, like, started watching back in 2008 when he started. I didn't start watching then, but I did watch him for a good, solid 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. Don't do it in the comments. But I was watching him for a good while, and then he contacted me, and I was just dumbfounded. I never thought this is who I was gonna get contacted with. This was Chugga's, I believe it was his first LP since all the stuff that happened. I'll put it at that. Don't ask me about it. I have zero clue. But yeah, it was very interesting. I kind of like did like a Chugga squeal, or like a Chugga scream, was like in disbelief at first. I'm like, had to cool my adrenaline for a little bit because I was just really excited. And I had to tell him, I was like, we just ended up having that conversation, and this is like 10 o'clock at night for me. So I just died. We had like a very long talk about all this information. Now, this was when he was doing Bowser's Inside Story. It was his 50th LP, so it was a big one. Especially since he had done Partners in Time I think it was about 7 years prior to that, and then he did Superstar Saga back in, I believe it was 2014 or 2015. It was right around there. Might have been a little earlier, but general area, what I'm talking about here. But then, I'm not an expert in Bowser's Inside Story. I am, however, I would call myself an expert when it comes to Bowser's Inside Story Remake. So I talked to Chugga about the Bowser's Inside Story Remake, because that's what he was trying to get information about. So we talked about a lot of the gear pieces. I talked about a lot of stuff he didn't know about. And yeah, I got to talk about a lot of stuff. And not everything that I told him got put into the LP itself. But there was a significant portion of our conversation that did get put in. For example, I believe it's episode 36. He brought up the quote-unquote big skip. That could have been a thing back in the day. It is forever now. It's been changed. But I did bring it up to him, and he actually included it. The reason he included it is because this big skip was something that we were looking forward to using. And back when he did Partners in Time, he mentioned that, hey, if someone broke the barrier into Stroop's castle earlier than intended, that could save a whole lot of time on the run itself. Well, after he posted that video, I think 2 weeks later, someone found a glitch to get into the castle, and it was very lackluster of a skip. I can't remember who came up with it, but like they were very they were not like happy with how quickly it took. But this actually did not end up happening. However, other stuff happened, which I'll talk about in a later video, hopefully. But that ended up got included. Another thing that got included is I got to send him my speedrun save file. Unfortunately, this had some major repercussions in terms of his LP, which I unfortunately kind of wish I had changed up what I gave him. So, in terms of the Dark Star fight, he used my save file for the Dark Star fight and the Dark Fawful fight. I unfortunately kind of wished that, at least for the Dark Star fight, I believe he was fine. He even referred to my old name. Obviously, it's my old name because it's back in 2024. Oh, it's my dog. Okay, I got distracted. It's my dog drinking water. I thought my dad walked in. I try to record these videos by myself, so. Anyways, getting sidetracked. Yeah, he used my speedrun save file, and I kind of wish he had used that file, but then went back and at least gotten a few things, because that's what I thought he was going to do. And he never did that. So he was kind of stuck. At least with Mario and Luigi, he was fine. But when we get to the Dark Fawful fight, he then had to use Bowser's Goomba Storm the entire fight. And I posted a comment, you could have just went back and grabbed stuff. It wouldn't have been that difficult. But, I mean, I digress. I mean, I sent him the file, he used it, and I mean, he still won the fight. I mean, at least that's something. But yeah, I also got to show him a bunch of the weird soft locks, including I don't think he knew about the menus, the crash that you do in the pause menu. He didn't know about that, and I think he used that in his, he definitely did use it during his playthrough, right before the Dark Star fight, in fact. So, yeah, it was just a very, very interesting conversations that we had. It's nothing extravagant or anything. Like, I mean, I don't know how in-depth people go in terms of, like, I know there's people who make art, for his LPs, like, especially for Pokemon LPs. I know he gets, commissioned art for, his legendary Pokemon bios and all that stuff. Or maybe an end credits or his intro sequence or something like that. He didn't do that, I don't know, he didn't really do it much for this LP, but he definitely didn't have anything like that. We strictly just had a conversation about how certain things worked, how things were learned. The one thing I do think I wish he could have mentioned was the softener gloves issue. I don't think it was mentioned, where softener gloves actually did 70% decrease in defense instead of 10, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it was just really, really fun conversation. Now, what happened afterwards? Nothing. Well, I always contact him from time to time if I come up with anything interesting to talk about, or sometimes I ask him a little bit of questions about his own LPs. For example, I talked about after spoiler warning, if you have not watched Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver, I highly recommend you watch that. So I'm going to give you 3 seconds. Okay, so I asked him about the shiny Nidoran that he got, or I didn't ask him about it. I said, congrats on your shiny Nidoran. I asked him about how he actually makes his, what he decides as his team member, or members for his Pokemon LPs, because I especially loved his Platinum playthroughs. And he just brought up the way he did things. And I'm not going to go too in-depth about the conversations that we had, because it is private, so it's best that I leave that part quiet. There was some other stuff that I got shared, and I'm not gonna dive too much into that, but I kind of want to I figured no one has really given, at least from what I could tell, no one's really given an in-depth way of how Chugga conducts himself through these things, and I just figured, why not post my experience out there? And this is exactly how things happened. I was very, very glad to work with him. He was fantastic when I worked with him. And I say work, but I was mainly just someone who gave out information about certain things about the game that he didn't know about. That's simply it. But no, it was so much fun, and again, I still give him, like, even as of recently with some of the updates that we've had with Bowser's Inside Story DX, which I may make a video about. I haven't decided yet. I've told him about those updates. In fact, when I updated him about the big skip being kind of null and void, I made a comment, and I just said, hey, this is something that's been updated. I figured if you wanted to update your your video, pin this comment. That way you can see it, or that way everyone can see it, and there's no issues. So he actually went ahead, he pinned my comment. That's on episode 36. Yeah, he was very, very thoughtful in his in our conversations. And that's kind of what it's like, just, you know, talking to the guy. He was really, really fun. I had no issues, and it kind of felt, I think it was almost like a nerdy moment, because we both loved the game series so much. He probably likes Bowser's Inside Story more than most, and I like Bowser's Inside Story DX. So, you know, it was really very thoughtful, and I was very, very glad to have that conversation. But yeah, that's what it was like working with Chuggaaconroy for an LP. Not too thrilling, but figured post my experience out there. Maybe one of you get lucky and you get to have a conversation with him as well for his own LPs. So anyways, that's about it. I'm gonna send out this video so I can go to bed. Hope you guys have a great night, have a great day, have a great week, have a great weekend, and enjoy 2026, because I haven't said that enough. So have a good night. Bye-bye.